All right, let's talk about the trial balance in Dynamics 365. For so many of us in finance, it's a tool we love and, let's be honest, sometimes a tool we hate. It's absolutely essential, but man, it can feel like a total puzzle sometimes. Well, over the next few minutes, we're going to change all that. We are going to turn that confusion into some serious clarity. So let's just dive right in. And we're going to start with the one question that has probably given you a headache at least once. You know the feeling, right? You run the summary trial balance, then you run the detailed report for the exact same period, and the numbers, they just don't line up. It is a classic D365 problem. But stick with me here, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly why that happens, and more importantly, what you can do about it. But first things first, let's get grounded in what the trial balance really is. Before we get into the weeds, just think of it like taking your company's financial pulse. It's a fundamental diagnostic tool, a super quick and powerful health checkup for your general ledger. It is always the very first place you look to make sure everything is, well, in balance. Now, to do this health check, D365 gives you a whole toolkit with a few different lenses. The detailed trial balance, that's your microscope. It gives you the nitty-gritty of every single transaction, dates, vouchers, you name it. The summary trial balance is more like your bird's eye view, giving you those clean, high-level opening and closing balances. And then you've got the year-over-year summary, which is kind of like a time machine, letting you put this year right up against last year. Each one has a totally different job to do. Okay, so to really master this thing, we've got to pop the hood and see how it works. Because it isn't just a static report, It's a dynamic tool, and it's built from some really powerful components. So let's break them down. And right here, this is the secret sauce. The most crucial building block is the financial dimensions set. This is where the magic really happens. It's basically a recipe that you create. You're telling D365 exactly how you want to slice and dice your ledger data. You want to see a trial balance for just the sales department broken down by cost center? No problem. You build a financial dimension set for that. It is the absolute key to customizing your entire financial view. So once you've built your dimension set, the system has to, maintain the balances. Create is just the initial one-time setup. Update is the everyday stuff, adding new transactions as they happen. But then there's rebuild. You need to think of this one as the big red emergency button. It completely wipes the slate clean and recalculates everything from the very beginning. The main takeaway? Use this button very, very sparingly, only when you've got a major problem, because it takes a ton of system resources to run. All right, let's all take a deep breath. We're about to talk about the most stressful time of year for any finance team, the year-end close. Yeah, I know. It's a beast. But D365 actually has some amazing features that can help demystify one of its biggest headaches. And this quote right here from a real user on a community forum, it just nails the feeling, doesn't it? It describes that heart-stopping, cold sweat moment when you've closed the year, you go to check your retained earnings, and the closing balance from last year does not equal the opening balance for the new year. And your first thought is just, oh no, something is horribly wrong. And these are the actual numbers from that post. So the closing balance for 2019 was around 11,800, but the opening balance for 2020 was almost 50,000. I mean, that is not a rounding error. That's a massive gap. So what on earth is going on here? And here's the solution. It's not a bug. It's not a system error. It's just accounting 101 playing out inside of D365. When you run the year-end close, the system calculates the entire profit or loss from the previous year and posts it as a single transaction to retained earnings on January 1st. So that 2020 opening balance is totally correct. It's the 2019 closing balance plus all of 2019's net income. Once you see it, it's that aha moment. It makes perfect sense. And the best part is, D365 doesn't leave you guessing. There are tools to make this crystal clear. Right inside your trial balance parameters, you can actually choose to see things like closing adjustments and those year-end transactions in their own separate columns. It isolates all that year-end activity, making it way easier to tie out the numbers from one year to the next. It's all about giving you that visibility. Phew. Okay, we have officially tackled the year-end beast. Now let's shift gears and talk about some of the more common day-to-day problems you might run into and how you can solve them right inside D365. So let's circle all the way back to that question we started with, the one that drives people nuts. Now that we understand the building blocks, things like dimension sets, we can properly figure out why those summary and detailed reports sometimes fall out of sync. Think of this as your go-to troubleshooting checklist. The number one culprit almost every time is some kind of hiccup during a posting process. like maybe a process got interrupted halfway through. The detail got posted, but the summary balance didn't get updated. Other suspects are things like unbalanced journal entries, tiny multi-currency rounding differences, maybe some manual data changes, and of course, the simplest one of all, you accidentally ran the two reports with slightly different date ranges. Hey, it happens. Okay, so we've solved some mysteries, we've fixed discrepancies, but let's be real. What about the one issue that affects literally everyone, no matter how clean your data is? I'm talking about the sheer, agonizing slowness of running a trial balance when you've got tons of transactions. You hit run, go get a coffee, come back, and it's still loading. Well, the good news is Microsoft heard everyone's complaints loud and clear. And the solution is an absolute game-changing of a feature with, admittedly, a ridiculously long name, Performance Enhancement for General Ledger Dimension Set Balance Calculation. Yeah, it's a mouthful. But don't let the name fool you. What this thing actually does is nothing short of revolutionary for the trial balance. Yeah, this feature is so important it deserves its own section. It completely transforms the experience of using the trial balance. So let's take a look at how D365 can now supercharge your reports for unbelievable speed and performance. This slide just breaks it down perfectly. The old way, every single time you opened the report, the system had to calculate balances in real time from scratch. The new way is to simply show balances. See the difference? Instead of calculating on demand, it just displays a pre-calculated balance that's been updated by a process in the background. The result? Insanely fast reports. The only trade-off is your data is near real-time, not live down to the second. So how does it work? Is it magic? Not quite, but it's pretty clever. D365 now runs this automated process that's just constantly chugging along in the background, keeping those dimension set balances up to date. It's a smart bit of automation that does all the heavy lifting for you. So when you actually need the report, the data's already there waiting for you. So just how near is near real time? Well, by default, that background process runs every 5 minutes. That's it. This means the data you're looking at is, at most, 5 minutes old. And for the massive, massive speed boost you get in return, that is a trade-off that pretty much every finance team is more than happy to make. So how do you work in this new supercharged world? It's easy. First, just be aware of the notification banner. It tells you exactly when the balances were last run. Second, for those moments when you absolutely need the latest numbers, like right after posting a huge journal entry, newer versions of D365 have an Update Balances button for an on-demand refresh, so you still have total control when you need it. So look at that. We've gone from frustrating reports and slow load times to a tool that is clear, fast, and incredibly powerful. You now know how to troubleshoot the year-end close, you've got a checklist for fixing mismatched reports, and you know how to tap into these game-changing performance features. So the only question left to ask is, with all this newfound clarity and speed, which financial process will you streamline first?